Hello, welcome to this video, and on this video I want to talk about digital audio techniques used in the recording and the production of music. Okay, this has come up over and over again on this channel, right? I have mentioned it so many times, right? I recently did a video called 10 Nails in the Coffin of Rock. And basically I went through 10 things which I think basically gave rock music a good kick in and has basically, you know, stuck it over in the corner and it's slowly dying, right? And we looked at a whole host of stuff, and one of them was, on that I called it the drum machine, the machine, right? But it's so much more than that. Now, I am planning on trying to get deep into this because I think music fans and people who watch this channel who are music fans, not musicians, don't really have an idea of how computers are used to make music. If they do have an idea, it's their imagined idea. And that can go from them thinking that AI can just go and write a Beatles song to thinking that, you know, it's just been used to, like, put vocalists in tune who can't sing in tune, that type of thing. When in reality, it is not like that at all. And I'm going to try and sort of introduce the ideas of this sort of free-forming conversation here. But in the future, I want to get down to the nitty-gritty and actually show you how the computers work. But that will require me to do something proper, you know, and I can't do that yet. But I am planning it. I've got a plan. I've got a plan. I'm about to kick my YouTube up the bum. We're going to go up to another level. I don't normally do this on the beginning of the video, but I have a Patreon. The link is down below, which has tons of content. It has the Patreon meeting where we all get together and we have a good old laugh and chat about music and all sorts of different things, and that we do that on Zoom, and then those videos are there for watch. They're really entertaining, full of all sorts of different stuff, and we get to chat about some, and it informs a lot of the content on this channel, right? So I've got my Patreon, but I also have my YouTube PayPal tip jar. This is the now symbol for that, where I do this with my hands. It's down there, the link's down there, and where you can put donations in, and that is enabling me to hopefully kick the channel up a gear, because I am a musician that has earned my living doing music for the last 30 years, more than 30 years in fact. I've played in bands, I've played in bands in stadiums, and I've played in bands in pubs doing covers. You know, I've done production, I've put out records, I've made money out of royalties, of radio play, I've also taught music, I've done masterclasses, drum clinics, you know, I've made dance records. You know, I have made my living through music. When we turn around and say music is dying, what we're really talking about is perform music. It's playing the drums, playing the guitar, you know, the band and all that sort of stuff. Music's still being made, but it's being made on computers, right? And there's a thought that computer music is sort of human beings that have used the computer to make the music. But music is literally made on computers. Machines make the music, all right? That is where we have ended up. If you put pop music on, you put the radio on, everything you're hearing is a machine. That is what you're hearing. People are controlling them, of course, but they are literally just controlling the machine. The music is being made by the machine. And I want to talk about that on this video. And the reason I bring up my PayPal and my Patreon at the beginning, which I don't normally do, because I think it's a bit naff to do that, and I can't stand when the YouTubers do it. And I'm going, just get on with it, stop selling me it. I'm not interested in your bundle. I'm not going to buy your bundle, I'm here to watch it for free, mate. So, well, you know, I don't like, but I've done it here to try and make out the fact that us musicians, we're having to change. We're having to move into different areas. We're having to, what are they called? What's it called when you've got skills that are on the edge of what you do, you know, sort of, like, there's a name for it. In education, they used to love, you know, saying that there was these skills that are developed through studying art, which would be useful in normal life, because of course making art's not important enough, so you have to say that there's these skills that you've developed. And so all these skills that we have developed as musicians, we're now trying to use them in another way, and I've ended up doing these YouTube videos. This is what I do now. You know, I've had to learn to edit video. I've had to learn how to talk to a camera, and I've had to think about like content and think about it like having almost like a little cruddy TV show, you know, in my garage where I come out and talk like this, and I have to get up in the morning and go, right, YouTube video today, come on, let's go. You know, it's like when I first started, it was like fun. And now it's like, right, what are we going to do? Where are we going? I'm having to do research. I'm having to look and read up about culture and all this type of stuff, when really all I want to really do is just go to bed and put an episode of Dad's Army on and sit there with some biscuits and a cup of tea. You know, that is what I do now. You know, the music is in the past. It's not quite true. I'm being facetious here. Anyone who watches the channel will know I do that. And I'm also going off on a tangent, which I don't want to do. Let's get back on track. So, a big nail in the coffin that has put me here, but also enabled me to be here. The reason I've got this YouTube channel, the reason I can make albums in my garage, is because of the computer. The arrival of the computer in terms of music history is probably, what's comparable to it? Electric guitar? No way. The computers are so much bigger than that. In the early 19th century, when accordions became very popular and they were mass-produced instruments where the pitch was set on the instrument, think about that. You know, if you've got a violin, you've got to tune it. If you've got a guitar, you've got to tune it. But the sound is set on an accordion. Of course, trumpets, the sound is set to some extent, but how many people have got trumpets, you know, and they can get hot and cold and all this sort of stuff. But so up until a certain point, pitch was all over the place. It was all over the place. You know, you go across Europe and pitch was all different. You know, people they had this, and of course, if you go back 300 years and this is that music, it was all a little bit flatter, you know, back then, because the pitch has changed. The invention of the accordion was almost like the technology that enabled pitch to become standard. That's a pretty big change in music, is the accordion. And the accordion is portable. You could carry it from town to town. That's the point, which you couldn't do with the piano. And a piano has to be tuned. But accordion, it doesn't have to be tuned. And so that was a big change. How big was that compared to the invention of the computer in terms of music? It's like that. It's like that. Can't think of anything that's as profound as the invention of the computer. The invention of the machine to make music. This idea that machines can play music has been there for hundreds of years. You know, those little fellas that they used to make, these, you know, like in Switzerland or whatever, like a cuckoo clock or whatever it is, a music box, you know, or one of those horrible little things that plays the piano and they can hear the music coming out. All those type of things that used to exist in the old days, you know. It's always been there. And then you have like piano rolls and all this type of stuff, you know. So this idea that a machine could play music has always been there. But the thing is, as technology improves, you know, as industry improves, the machines have got better and better, right? The machines have got better and better. And I think in the late 70s, early 80s, something happened that was truly profound. The drum machine was invented. Now, you know, before that, if you were a musician and you wanted to demo your song, you wanted to try something out, you had to have a drummer there. The groove is so important in popular music. So somebody would have to cart in that great big drum kit into a room. It's really noisy. It would have to be soundproof. They'd have to put microphones on it. They'd have to play the drummer. The drummer would have to be able to play the stuff and be able to come up with something. They'd have to have a cool groove because the song was going to be based upon that groove. You'd have to record the mix and do that just to hear your stuff, right? The drum machine comes out, and it was originally intended to replace that demo. So let's use a drum machine and we'll put the track down, and then when we've got the track done, we'll put a real drummer. And if you're overdubbing, the drummer then turns up and he's now having to play to the drum machine. The drum machine came in a little bit like the accordion, and it made time absolute. Before then, time was never absolute. You know, the best you could do was stick a metronome and record it onto a track and then play to that metronome. That's the best you could do. But now we've got absolute time ticking away. This isn't that, by the way, because me doing this, right? If you recorded that and you took each clap and you zoomed in on the grid, at some point, if that's the grid there, my clap just moves away and away like that. Anyone who's recorded on a computer has seen that a million times. But when you program a bass drum in, when the drum machine places that bass drum on beat one, it doesn't matter how far you move in, it will always be on one. It's infinitely on beat one, and this is infinitely not on beat one. It's the absolute opposite of each other. The drum machine comes in and it creates an absoluteness in music, right? And a drum machine never gets tired. Another drum machine never wants to show off. A drum machine doesn't get bored playing a simple part. So although he's brought in to do that demo, straight away it changed the nature of time. This is why when you listen to a Mitch Mitchell or Ginger Baker, their timing is different. They don't play out of time, but it's different to, say, a drummer like Jeff Porcaro and those drummers that emerged in the 1980s who played their time so much more solid. And when you listen to the modern drummer out there, the sort of Instagram drummer, they are playing smack on the beat. I was there in the 80s. I can remember getting a drum machine and tightening my sound up. Right, the grid becomes more important straight away now. But it doesn't stop there. People start to make records. That exploratory nature that is inherent in rock music and pop music meant that people, well, why can't we use this on an actual record? So records start to emerge. Now, that goes back to Sly and the Family Stone. Family Affair's got a drum machine on it, hasn't it? Right? Think about it. 1970, is that? Incredible. Great tune. As soon as they started to do it, it was a little bit like, let's see what happens. And what did the audience do? They loved it. In a way, they preferred it to a real drummer. Think about disco. Disco is dance music. The beat is more important in that style of music than anything else. All right? That turns into house music. It's a machine. People preferred the machines. This is a thing that nobody wants to say. The audience didn't balk at it. They didn't say, we don't like this. I want a real drummer on because I want to dance. And I need a real drummer to dance to, blah, blah, blah. No, they preferred the machine. And the machine was cheaper. Okay? Well, could we get this to play the bass then? And then what was it? The Roland 505 came out. Now you got a programmed bass line. Then MIDI comes out so these things can talk to each other. And then you have sequencers. And the sequencers could be tied to tape, which means the tape will run in time and you can change the sound after you've recorded it and you can program it and you can get it to do things that people can't play and you can get it to do things that people can play but they don't want to play. Musicians are suddenly, their job is not sacred, it's not sacrosanct. It can be replaced or they can be replaced. It's a big change. That happens in the early 80s. Right. Now, this idea of getting machines to play the music is established by the 1980s. Right, but also in the 1980s is the beginning of digital recording. So there's always this idea with tape, beautiful though tape is, and it's a better form in terms of your ears. But people wanted perfection. It's an anal retentive trap that creative people have. Think about Steely Dan. Steely Dan, one of the great American bands, right? But they were always aiming at this perfection. And they achieve it, this sort of complex popular music, which is what they made on Asia. They reached this peak. But it's got Gad just improvising all over the place. And he does that thing when he hits the rim and you hear the click. Oh my God, he made a mistake. But keep it on, it's on tape. Steely Dan also almost undone. Is it Gaucho, the next album, where he brought the drum machines in because Donald Fagen wanted it absolutely perfect. Right, this idea also emerged with the machine of this sort of platonic perfection. It can now be achievable. Artists always are aiming for that. But in the old days, they couldn't achieve it. And so you had a sublime balance between chaos and order. But the machines now, you can have absolute order. Right? And that then sets up a new aesthetic. Okay? Now this for me is the real issue with computers. Computers could have been used to capture, which they can do brilliantly, capture expression. but nobody was interested in doing that. The automatic impulse with the computer was to perfectionify human performance. That's been the driving thing all the way through. So that starts to become, and digital recording emerges in the 1980s, and it's the idea it's absolutely perfect. This is perfect. It's got this is more accurate, all right. But once something is numbers, it can be manipulated. It can be reprogrammed. Right, in the old days, if you wanted to create mad effects, you might wire something up to a spring reverb and then pass it through a Leslie speaker. It's all physical stuff happening in the world. It's still air being moved at some point, and it's being manipulated in real time by real people, even though it's going down wires. But now reverb is a mathematical equation that is put upon numbers in a digital recording. That's what reverb is, that's what echo is, that's what everything you hear. Because it's been reduced to numbers, it can be manipulated. But to start off, the machine is just creating digital recordings, and then CDs come out, right? All of this is actually affecting popular music, right? CDs create a sort of nostalgia, because now you can say, oh, it's been 20 years since Sgt. Pepper came out, and now we got the CD release for you. Oh God. And that, and that turns those bands into sort of, they're no longer rock bands, pop bands that are just out there, doing a bit of that and representing the kids' views, and all that type of stuff. It's suddenly, it's special. It's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, isn't it? The CD brings that in. They're ridiculously overpriced. And when computers come in and downloading starts to happen, the record companies don't move because they make so much money out of these CDs. These perfect things. Remember when they came out and they said you could, put jam on them and then play them with jam on, which is something with my records throughout the 70s I was so annoyed that you couldn't do. Why can't I put jam on my record? My copy of Close to the Edge, I really would like to spread some jam on it before I play it. Well, don't worry, because in the future, the 1980s, you'll be able to do exactly that, but you can't, can you? It doesn't work, right? So, all of this is having an effect, right? But at some point, there is the move from digital recording on a special system that Sony had that cost lots of money. Suddenly, around about the early 90s, it could be done on a computer. I can remember the first time I could see someone could record something digitally in their house was 1995. My mate was a computer nerd, and he built this very powerful computer, and he was running Cakewalk on it. And I went round to look at it, and he was doing all this programming and MIDI and all this stuff that we've already described. And then suddenly I said, what about recording? He goes, I could record. What, you can record onto this? Oh, yeah. So you've got a recording studio here. I got a 4-track Tascam 424 or whatever. I've got a Tascam 4-track in my studio. I was amazing. I had a studio in my bedroom, 4 tracks on a cassette tape, right, on a machine that cost me about £400-500 quid. And this guy's got perfect digital recording in his house, right? And I said, how many tracks? Well, as many as you like, really. It's not whatever the computer can handle. What? Yeah, and I can cut them and I can edit them. I can do this. I can remember that happening. So suddenly, not only can you record on a computer, but the computer can manipulate it in almost an infinite amount of ways, and you can do it in your bedroom. Everything is under threat now. But what I want to talk about on this video is actually the aesthetic goals of those people who had the computers. That they are hobbled. Artists are hobbled by perfectionism. I've said it all my life. Perfectionism is the enemy of creativity. It's required, but it has to be tempered by emotionalism, by expression. When those two things are in balance, you have sublime music. Technologically, in the 1960s and 1970s, after tape was invented by, pretty much Bing Crosby in the 1940s, which is another thing that I did a video called the 10 most important events in music history, and I talked about that, so I won't go into that. But tape's invented in the late 1940s, really good high quality hi-fi tapes, and that changes the industry, and that starts to develop. By the 60s and 70s, recording technology is advanced enough that you could achieve a level of perfection beyond what you would normally expect in just people playing a room, but not enough to upset the apple cart and tip it over into something that does not create that sublime balance. And this is why those records of the 60s and 70s are so classic. And this is why we still keep going back to them. There is nothing that Abbey Road did in the 1960s that computer can't do. We could use digital recording to do what we did, right? In fact, it does it even better. But on the whole, we don't choose to do that. See, it fascinates me. This is the fundamental message I want to get across. This is the thing that I said that I don't think the audience understands. Is that modern digital recording techniques, digital audio workstations like Logic or Cubase or Pro Tools can do whatever you want. But on the whole, musicians use it to achieve perfection. So what do we mean by perfection? We mean if a singer's singing, remember I talked about the grig, and this is why it goes right back to that drum machine. When a singer sings and they go, la, right, whatever that note is. What is that? I don't know, a C or a B or something like that. I don't know, I haven't got perfect pitch. I think it's, I'm going to guess at this and then somebody can test me on it. Oh, it's a hard one for me to pick. That is. No, I can't work it out. I have got very slight perfect pitch. I've got absolute pitch, but sometimes I can get the note, but I can't get that one. That's an E. I think that's an E. Is it an E? Is that why it's put me on? Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. Skills that I developed because I've worked in music all my life. Skills that I needed, to be able to pick up those notes, to be able to recognise chords, all these things that you have to have. You don't need them anymore. Computer do all that for you. Anyway, let's get back on track. So when a singer sings that note, right, that note will never be in absolute pitch. It's not like a computer creating a sine wave of the note B. You'll look into it and that note's quivering about. It's not quite on an but it's oscillating. All right, that's what a singer does. Great singers are the ones who are able to get close to it, but you can't get on it. Right? Once it's digitally, you can change that vocal. You can make it in tune, and that's what people think. Oh, if all these vocals have been tuned in, they do not understand. It can also add vibrato. It could change the sound of the voice. It could turn the sound of the voice of someone singing higher up or lower down, or a male voice or a child's voice. It can create harmonies, do backing vocals. It can do absolutely everything. You literally can go up to a computer and I could go, hello there, my name's Andy Edwards. I could record that and I can put it in and I can manipulate that into any melody I want. Right? So suddenly these vocal programs come in, things like Melodyne, that will put stuff into absolute tune, will add vibrato, will change the timbre, will do all these different things. Right? You don't have to be able to sing anymore, as long as you can just speak the words and get through it. A producer once told me, and I won't say who it was, that he'd produced some of the big singers out there and done recording sessions with big singers. And he said, these singers, Swanee, and they're so famous that you've got like an hour and a half with them. He said, they put the vocal down, right? The vocal's awful. It's all over the place. And he says, you earn your money, right? And you get a Grammy because you've sat there and put that singer in tune. That is modern recording techniques in terms of vocals. Drums can be put in time. They can be given a feel. Somebody can play with a certain feel, but then you can go and grab John Bonham's feel. You can give that drum a John Bonham's feel now, right? You don't have to hear the sound of the drum kit because you can record it with a microphone. This isn't like a synthesizer triggering a sound. You can record with a microphone, and then that microphone will trigger the sound of a drum, right? If you're listening to a modern rock record, not a pop record, if you listen to a modern rock record, all those vocals have been tuned in. The performances aren't real. They have been edited together. You know, drummers or guitarists will play the track maybe 20 times, and they will go through and find the best bits and take them and then put them in time and put them in tune, and they will fade across from one note to the next, so you are not hearing a performance anymore. You are not hearing the sound of that person's guitar anymore, because they just record the sound and then they, you know, resample the sound. The amps and the mics and all that you're hearing is not real. None of it's real. None of it's real. You could play any old garbage and a producer can turn it into what sounds great. I know millions of rock producers that take the new hot... And this isn't pop music, this is rock music. It's prog, progressive metal, and in some cases even jazz fusion, right? This is happening all the time. None of it is real. None of it is real. Okay? I'm a reasonable drummer. I can play. You know, I got some chops, done lots of sessions. I'm most well known for an album called Million Town. Right, on that album is a picture of me inside, nice long hair. I'm a lot younger back then, looking like cool in a band. And you open it up and it says Andy Edwards drums. Right, I may as well not be on that album. It's not me. It's the computer. I got voted in polls when the album came out. And in Europe, one poll put me as the third greatest progressive rock drummer in the world. I think it was Mike Portnoy and Neil Peart above me. I was number 3. That was quite an achievement. Very proud of that. But was I really that proud? Was it because of Million Town? One of my reasons for sort of losing interest in Frost as a band, for those of you who are interested in that band, was because I got sick of not particularly Frost, but just got sick of the production process that would be used, and I thought it was a con. I really believe in expression. That's what I believe. That's what I find interested in music. I'm not interested in perfection. I'm interested in expression. Anyone who watches these YouTube videos, I could sit through and go through it, and every and mistake I make, I could cut out. I could do that if I want. Right? I could plan them out and script them so they're all perfect. I could have an idea of what I want to say. You know, I could go in and regrade the video. I could get a decent microphone so my voice doesn't sound like an AM radio. I could do all that. But what I would be doing in doing that is taking away the idiosyncrasies, the things that make this a thing. It would look like all the other YouTube videos. I would be doing what everyone else does. I don't like it. I really don't like it. But the computers have been used to create fake music. Yeah, but Andy, you know, they might be doing that, but they are writing the songs, aren't they? Grabbing a sample, you can go online and you can download a bunch of chord progressions. I am inundated by this bloody advert every time I go on YouTube, and it's some trendy looking twat, right, sat in front of Pro Tools, and he turns around and he goes, don't know how to play chords? Well, you don't need to now. Just download my sample pack. Listen to that. You think that's cool? And I feel like going, no, I do know how to create chords. I do know how to write bloody chord progressions. You know why? Because I'm a musician. That's the bloody job, or it was a job, and he can sit there with his tattoos on his bloody facial hair and all that stuff, looking cool, going, don't know, don't need, I mean, what is going on? What is going on? Don't need chord progressions, don't need arrangements, you know, you could take someone else's song anyway and just rework it, nick the melody from there, get somebody who can't sing to sort of, vaguely say the lyrics to the song. AI will... Now, this is the next thing. I was going to say AI will write the lyrics for you. But the machine is now got to the point where it'll go, you like the Beatles? You don't like the Beatles? And you like AC/DC? Do you want a song that's like the Beatles and AC/DC? Yeah, I'd love to hear that. And what do you want it about? I want it about like egg cups and how they are taking over the world, you know, by infiltrating the eggs with evil egg cups in the style of the Beatles and AC/DC, and you go, and literally A few seconds later, out pops your track, finished, done. That is what AI is. Now, how does AI work? Well, AI goes, right, Beatles, let's scan the Beatles. So that's all the Beatles. That's what the Beatles do. That's what AC/DC do. Those are egg cups, right? There's this info, and they pull it all together. It's like being able to cast a net out to all the fish in the world and then pull them all in. And it's big data, and it pulls it all in, and it reconstitutes it out, and it plops it out back at you like that. That's what it does, right? It cannot exist without that stuff out there. Right, it is the postmodernist dream of culture eating its own arsehole. That's what it is. You know, and if you leave AI to make art, it will just cycle down into a big sludgy turd. A big sludgy turd of what happened before. That is what AI will end up with. Right? Now, AI could go, well, the one thing I can't do is be creative. Now, what does creative mean? Creative means we're coming up with something new. Well, how do you come up with something new? It has to be counterintuitive. It has to be against the grain. And how do you do that? By accessing the expression that comes from the unconscious. And some people think comes from the sublime. Some people think it comes from God. Every musician feels like that. You open yourself up to the world and you connect, if you're lucky, and the stuff comes out. So maybe AI could go, well, is that what human beings are? Well, I'll emulate that. You cannot emulate that. You cannot emulate that, right? It's the big mystery of our humanity. You know, the great thing about us humans is not that we are rational beings. That's a very important thing. What's more interesting is that we are irrational. That's the thing. It's insane, right? So we are living at a time where the machines have come in and human beings have, in terms of music, has utilised them to create perfection. But you've got to understand that the machine has done something else. Because the machine is not only the means of production, it's the means of distribution. And the conduit for entertainment now, or entertainment, is the machine. And the machine operates on grabbing our attention now, based upon what it wants to sell us. It is scanning what you do all day long, and then it is trying to throw your wants back at you. So the fact that you like prog and jazz, to them, is just a hook by which they can market to you. That's how I make my money on YouTube here. The tiny amount that I do is from the ad revenue of your likes and your wants, because they've been studying you. I have to create content for them which pushes that button, and they call that the algorithm. I have to push that button. I would love to come on here and do a nice video about Dad's Army, one of my favourite TV shows, or something else I know about. I know about all sorts of things, but if I did a video about that, interesting though it may be, YouTube won't go, oh, let's go and grab that and stick it to people who like it, because it can't work it out. It would be irrational. It would be off. It would be going somewhere else. So if I want to get content in I want to talk about, I have to hide it within a top 10. Right? One of my things I think I do is I know I'm chasing the views. I know I'm doing that. But I try and embed something inside it. Esoteric. I talk about esotericism all the time on this channel, so people get it. There's an esoteric heart. Right? Those of you who've come here is because you're grumpy old men that wants to have modern popular music have a kick-in off another old man and go, it's all crap now, the computers are coming in, they ruined everything, oh, it's all terrible, I can't believe that all the music I like has been tuned in and all that, and it's not real. You know, music should be played by real people. Well, the question is why? If people enjoy it, if they like it, if that's what it is, then that's what it is. It's changed. You know, music used to be played by people who could read music, and then rock music came out and pop music, and a lot of people couldn't read music. They were less skilled, but that make the music any worse? No, it didn't. So why, if it's been made by machines, does it make any difference? All right? It's just the values. It's the values of our generation. They're moving away. What if everything is machines? It's all about, capitalism, commodities, If the computers can just create music that people like to improve their lives and then use it to sell, well, what is the problem with all that, And I sound facetious saying it, but I'm trying not to. Okay? So I have to produce a video that will push those buttons. I know what the buttons are on my channel, and I try and create a thumbnail and a title. As I've done this YouTube, I've got better at it. I've got to the point where people will have a go at me. Oh my God, this is a clickbaity title. And every time they do that, I go, oh great, brilliant. Getting better at this. Pull them in. I'll pull them in. So why have I pulled you here? Because I want to talk about the nature of art. I want to talk about perfectionism, versus expression, and how those two things are intertwined. I want to put the message out there that certain artists and musicians are watching this and go, Andy's right. I don't have to use that computer to make myself perfect, right? But if I don't put something out of perfect, I feel insecure. Really? Yeah, I don't know. The amount of times I've been with a musician and there's a mistake on a recording, and I go, I think it sounds quite cool, just leave it. No, I think we should fix it. It'll take us hours to fix. We've got to do this. The audience will not notice this. And then they always go, yeah, but, I know it's there. What you're scared of. Being human. Being an actual person. Making mistakes. Right? This is what this is really about. This is what this is really about. And we don't understand it. When the Beatles are making their records, they were in that studio pushing that 4-track to the limit to try and make the thing as perfect as it could be, but it couldn't be perfect. And within that, all their characters still came through, and all their weird sense of humour, and all their excitement of seeing what the technology could do, and creating new sounds, and creating new this, and the Beatles, the greatest band of all time, the most important band in history, are dripping with surreal humour that comes out of the Goons, and all that type of stuff that they grew up with, the musical. And that X factor means that the stuff doesn't make sense. Right? I am the Eggman. I am the Eggman. I am the Walrus. Try and sell that to a record company as the chorus to one of the most greatest songs of all time. Think about it. Think about what human creativity is, and how valuable it is, and how irrational it is. How great I Am the Eggman is, and how I can't explain why it's great. We can try and talk about music on here, and I try and reach it, but you can never reach the sublime. You can never express what it's about. But what you can do is destroy it by hammering a huge, dirty, rotten grid over the top of it. And that is what computers have done for music. And the terrible thing, it's not the computer's fault. The computer, right, as well as creating perfection, as well as eradicating rooms, because that's what... so many people said, you've got to have a decent mic, Andy. You've got to have a decent mic. It's got to be up close, right? Close mics, a nice big, diaphragm mic that will hear the richness, record the richness of my, the bass parts of my voice. That's cool then, wasn't it? I should really. I could get a completely new audience if I could just drop my voice down to there, couldn't I? But I could just start talking a lot like that. Hi, my name's Andy Edwards. I'll go American as well, just turn it to me. Hi, my name's Andy. Today we're going to be exploring the world of digital recording techniques and how it's affected rock music that we love and we cherish. Evil computers destroying expression. See, it takes on us completely differently. Anyway, I could get a nice mic, couldn't I? What would I be eradicating? This room! Hello! Hey! I'm sat in the room with 2 drum kits. It's pretty echoey in here. Oh, you can't have that. It's a real space. It's your garage. I can hear you in your garage. I don't like it. You've got to pretend you're existing in platonic space where there's no acoustic shape. It's got to be an abstract space that could only exist, in a sort of perfect realm. That's what you should have. The videos do better when you've got that. I've been told that a million times. Hey! It's me! In the garage! This is not a film studio! It's my garage! Yeah, you can't do that, and you got to pretend that you're making a proper TV show in a proper TV studio. So important you do that. You got to look more professional than you actually are. You got to use the computers to, perpetuate that lie, so people think you're proper. Oh, you don't understand, do you? Get yourself one of those short SMB 50 things. You want a big black one. You got to have those because everyone has those. Everyone has those. Be the same as everybody. Do what everybody else does and use the computer to achieve that. Right? Get it all locked to the grid. Then people will think you're proper. That's how the computers have been used. That's what they... And why? Because of the cultural crisis we're in. Not because of the computer. Right? In the old days, you had to record in a recording studio. Digital recording means you don't do that. You can record on your phone. You can record a bass on the top of a mountain. You can record the guitar at the bottom of a cave. You can record the drums at a million miles an hour on the back of a train. You could access any acoustic environment you wanted. You could record it in the desert, in a church, in a toilet. Right? All those things you could do. You can make records like that. So why isn't the charts full of records like that? Because digital recording enables you to do that. It's because people don't want to do it. Oh, well, that might sound interesting to do that. What would it sound like? I don't know. Creative people want to know. Shall we make a track like that? What would it be like if you just recorded your track on an iPhone? Everything's recorded on an iPhone microphone. Absolutely everything in different spaces. Imagine that. Let's cut. Digital recording means you can record with anybody all over the world. Why don't we take a person and put them in each continent, in all the different places, and then get them to record their parts at exactly the same time of the day? Right? So they've all been recorded at the same time but separately. All on their iPhones, and we'll assemble it together. What would that sound like? I don't know. Why would you want to do it? I don't know. To see what it sounds like. But would it affect the sound? I don't know. Does knowing something about the song affect your appreciation about it? Of course it does. It's utilised all the time in the music industry. There's a new song out today. Oh yeah, it's by Rihanna. Oh, it's by Rihanna. Well, that changes my perception of it. I will listen to it because she's famous and she makes records. Or Beyonce's done something. I could record the next track that Beyonce's done. You can let me do it, stick myself in Pro Tools, I'll do all the editing in the Auto-Tune Melodyne thing, I'll make myself sound like Beyonce, I'm pretty sure I could do that, and I bang it up, no one will give a toss. So knowing stuff about music does change it, doesn't it? But nobody utilises that. They only utilise it to make it as perfect as they possibly can. It's a con. The whole thing's a con. Pop music's not a con. It doesn't pretend to do that. But this music on this channel, and this is the problem I have in modern progressive rock, modern progressive fusion and all that type of stuff. John McLaughlin has just put an album out by Shakti. I was going to review it, so I bought it. The new Shakti album. He's won a Grammy for it. They went on tour. Everyone's been, it's form absolutely brilliant. I listened to it. I didn't like it. I didn't like a John McLaughlin album. You know why? Because as soon as I put it on, I thought, this has been recorded. This has been dialed in. This has been recorded. Everyone's in their own little studio. There's no space. There's no sense of space because they've all got their nice little, dry room that they put it in. All the reverb's been added digitally, right? It's all there. And they've all done it in their own time. It's all to a click so they can keep themselves in time. It's been dialed in and assembled, a later date. Like a Frankenstein. Like all music's made, right? And the virtuosity is off the scale, but it sounds like it's been edited. They've all done billion takes. Oh, you were a bit out of tune there, Zakia. Oh, nudge it in then, nudge it in. Says 70-year-old Zakia, who is, like all musicians, completely knowledgeable about the editing that can happen. Right? Now, they could have played perfect on every single one, couldn't they? They could have just recorded one take, and it was perfect every single time. Well, great. But what do they get from doing that? But they didn't do that. right? It lacks something for me, that Handful of Beauty, you know, and all those incredible albums of the 70s where they were basically sat in a room with an acoustic environment with mics in front of them playing together, right? I like that. I reviewed, I did an interview with Scott Henson recently, and he's got a new album called Carnival out, and I'm going to give it another plug. Incredible album, but when I spoke to him, they recorded it all at the same time. They did overdubs, but they recorded it all at the same time. Digital recording enables you to do that, right? It enables you to do that, right? You could have, with modern digital recording techniques, you can have what's called a sound field mic. This is a mic that you put in the middle of the room, and when you put it on, if you played it through a 7.1 system, will emulate the sound of that room. You could take the best jazz group in the world, you could place him in that room, and you could put that mic in exactly the right place. You could do what they used to do in the old days with Louis Armstrong, and you would mix by position. You'd put that mic in the right place so the levels are all correct, and then they would have to play live, and it would be like an acoustic photograph that when you sat in that room, you could walk around and feel like you're in that room. It could be emulated exactly. The music industry could have created these new albums. The artists would have had to play in real time, in real space. So virtuosity would have to come in. You would have had to have perfect recording. It's quite interesting that I talked about the very first digital recording, which was made by Steve Marcus in Japan, where they had the only digital recorder. And the reason why he was chosen, because he was a jazz artist, because they couldn't stop once they started recording, right? We could have these beautiful recordings that you plug in to this huge system in your house for audio files, and you could hear the reality of this person in your room, you know, much like they've done with films. But they won't do that with music. Instead, we are mixing for iPhones. This is what computers have done. It's all-encompassing. And what has got lost? It's the music. Right? The music has been eaten by, and I got this off from Ted Gioia, who is a writer of music. But, art and music is being eaten by distraction at the moment. And distraction is at the service of addiction. You know, our attention spans are all getting shorter and shorter. So, a profound effect on all art, including music. I hope I have been able, in 3/4 of an hour here, to deal with digital audio recording techniques. This is only an introduction. I will return to this, and I would like to do some practical stuff so people can actually see, that fans can actually see, fans of music, not fans of me, fans of music can actually see how music's made and spot it, and then when they can go back to their favourite bands and go, well, hang on, that's not real, is it? No. Are you bothered? Yeah, I am actually. I'm expecting to buy an album with someone playing the drums on it. It'd be nice if they play the drums on it. Listen to modern drumming, right? Either all the drummers are superhuman, or it's not real. Have a listen. Listen to the average prog metal album. You know, go and listen to what's they called, that bloke that looks like a doll with the tattoos up his neck that everyone was talking about. Forgotten the bloody. I can't remember anything. Oh, I'm at the end now. I'm at the fag end of this video. I'm run out. I didn't reach the climax. Halfway through that, I could feel a good rant coming on, but I actually pulled it in. Anyway, I'm done. I'm finished. If you like this video, stick a like on it, which means you press the like button. It won't hurt you and it'll benefit me. So please do that. At least do that. Stick a like on it. That won't hurt you. If you're not a subscriber, then please subscribe by pressing the subscription button. You know, that really helps me as well. Even if look, it doesn't. I'm subscribed to hundreds of channels. All it means is that you might get the next video that I've done poked at you. I am about to kick this channel up again, and the reason is because of the money that's coming, the trickle of money that's coming from my Patreon and from my YouTube PayPal tip jar. I really appreciate this, and I'm going to try and make some you know, when I was shouting and taking the mickey out of things, I do want to try and make some really high quality shop videos. I want to do some like real important topics and give them the quality and see whether that makes a difference. Because as much as I've taken the mickey about it, the audience want it. They want this. Anyway, I won't go down. I've just been doing the whole bloody video again. Oh. So, but if you want to support me, there's a PayPal tip jar there, or you can become a patron. So, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.